Okay, so now we'll start with day 17. Change this to day 17. Okay, most of the work today we'll be doing with this specific to events, which is submit button and the form field. Okay, basically this is how do we use it, how do we functions, how many functions are there with keyboard with it, so we can learn that today. So we'll do that today, and if you have any doubts with that, you can let me know. Okay, so what we'll do is we took the code for the day 16. We can take the code for day 16. What we did was it took a form element. Anyone? What is a form element? Anyone? मम्मी पानी में बहानी होती है कॉटन हाँ दे रही हूँ हाथ तो धो लूँ मैं Anyone? What is a form element? Form tag. कहाँ से? No doubts. What's a form tag?
So basically, the input take tags. Form tag is used for taking input.
Yes. Okay. So
User input in the form of forms, different types of forms, contact forms, etc.
yes, yes, right. Okay. So form is basically used when we have to take input from various inputs, or we have to take various values from input. So what you can do is you can take an input and clear that particular input using input dot value, or you can take any other element and do the same thing with it. Okay. So what we'll do is on clicking of the button, we'll render some function as of now. Okay, and we'll check if that particular function is running. Okay, so whenever you add an event handler, you have to always check if that event handler is working or not. Okay, so anytime you add a particular event handler or anything like that, so suppose if you add a button or anything, the first thing to check if that particular event handler is working or not is using event.type. Okay, what is event.type? Anyone? Just try,
It
just
gives the type of the event.
yes, correct. Okay, so it gives the type of the event. Okay, what we'll do is we'll do form dot you can do is form dot add event listener, and here we can add some event. So whatever event you have to do, so in case we'll do submit as of now, and then what you have to do is you have to put comma and whatever function you want to define. So if you want to define a custom function, you can do that. So it's always better to define a custom function, something like as done event or something like that, and then call that function below. Okay, function run event, and you can call this function below. Okay, any doubts up till now? Whatever I have taught. Okay, and to check if this is working perfectly fine, what we do is we do console.log event sorry e dot type, and we'll check if the event is running or not. Okay. Mm. Any doubts up till now? Or we can, instead of input, we can do the complete form, so submit button will also work. Okay, so as soon as I click a button, what should happen was what if I click the button, what should happen in console? Anyone?
Data has to go there.
Submit event.
Submit event. Okay, should display submit. That's it. I think it's giving an error, something like that. Okay, wait a second. Is there some action? Okay. One of the problem with this is what's happening is as soon as I click this, it redirects to some other page. Okay, to prevent this kind of action, what we have to do is we have to do action, we have to prevent this from going to another page. Okay, so we'll use e dot prevent default, and what this will do is what this will do is it will prevent that event from running to another page. Okay, so I'll do e dot prevent default, and if we do e dot prevent default, I have to use parenthesis next to it so that this doesn't give an error. And now we can check. Now it should display. Is it due to this browser? Wait a second, I'll try it on next page. No, it is still loading. Complete new page. What's the error? Form dot query selector, document dot query selector. We'll put this in dollar and see if this is the problem. I don't think this is an issue, but in case if it does this, we'll see that. Anyone, is there any mistake? If you can find out, we shouldn't give any error here. Yesterday we did the same thing. Run event using the button, and it didn't give any error. Function card dot query selector, and then we call that particular function using these.
So file name changed.
Oh yes. Sorry. Sorry. Yeah, that might be the issue. Yes. Okay, so yes, you can see the submit button. Sorry for that. Okay, I didn't notice it. Okay, JS console, might be that JS wasn't connected, that's why it didn't show anything. Okay, so first thing you have to do is console.log and check if that particular JS file is connected or not. Okay. After that you can write functions and everything. So as soon as we do this, we can see the particular event being run. Okay, also what we can do is we can also check whatever values present there in that particular field. So suppose if you have to log the value which is present, so we have added a task present here, no, we have added a task here. So if you want to print that in console, we can do it through task. We have to take that particular first, you have to take that particular field's value. So we can type out input equal to document dot query selector, and we can take that particular input using dot input. Okay, any doubts with why are we taking something like this? So we are using this because we have to get input from this particular field using JS. To get that input, we have to use dot input here. Okay. Okay, I'll remove e dot prevent default now. Okay, and what else we'll do is we'll do input dot value. So whatever attribute is present, you can call that specific attribute and it will print that specific attribute if you want to do it. So let's see if this doesn't give an error. If it does, I'll see. So what happens if you click, as soon as you click this, it will redirect to another page. So what's the specific characteristic of a form element is that as soon as you fill a particular form, as soon as you fill a particular form, the it should redirect to a new page. So always you see, if you fill up a Zomato based form or any website from Zomato, it will redirect to a new page. And if you redirect it to a new page, you can see, like if you fill up any thank you letter will be displayed there, or something like that will be displayed, something like this will be displayed, like if you fill a contact form or something like that here or there. So you can check that out, and if you want to do it, you can you can check any of these forms that are present are having form elements, and as soon as you fill it, it redirects to new site. To prevent such kind of action, we have to use e.prevent default. So this specifically avoids if you want to move it to some other site. Okay, so you can do it using this. Now if you put e.prevent default, it won't go to another page. So that's the advantage of e.prevent default. So it will avoid such kind of functions which are there by default. Okay, so if you have some default function happening on submit, if you have some function happening on clicking a button or something like that, it will prevent such kind of errors by using e.prevent default. Okay, so now you can understand the concept of e.prevent default. Any doubts with this, or any doubts with input.value? How did we get it, or how did we display it?
सर ई डॉट प्रिवेंट वाला को फिर से समझा दीजिए.
Okay, so by default, if you remove this line, what happens is submit but form element has a characteristic. In every form you fill up nowadays, any form you fill up, by default, if you redirect, it will redirect you to a thank you page, or it will reopen this site again. Okay, so if you go to a contact form here, I'll show you in live example. So if I fill something like this, and I'll give some random details. Okay, and we'll submit a feedback. So as soon as I click this form, what happens is it will redirect me to a new page. Okay, it checks it for okay, so you see, as soon as I finish that form, it redirects me to some other page. Okay, so this is a characteristic which is followed by all the form elements, all the elements that are present, all the forms that you use. So if you use this form tag specifically anywhere, this characteristic will be followed there. Okay, so to prevent such kind of characteristic, we need to use e.prevent default. So this, what it will do is, it will avoid the default characteristics of that element. So what is default characteristic of form element? It will redirect to a new page. So it will avoid that kind of characteristic, and it will let us print anything in console till we want it. If you remove this, if you wanted to keep it on specific condition, like if a form is completely filled or something like that, you can do that too. But the general purpose of e.prevent default is to avoid the basic characteristics which are shown by that particular element. It's mostly used with submit element. It won't be used with any other elements. Mostly it is used with submit. So that's why you have to use e.prevent default in such cases. Okay, any doubts with this, how I used it now? No. Okay, great. Okay, so you can check other characteristics. So if you find some other characteristic of other element, you can check that also, check that out also, and you can see the same result there. Okay, now if you modify the text here, you can see the same text. If I do hello, you can see the same text. Hello will be printed here. Okay, so whatever value is present in this, it will be displayed there. So this is how backend works also. So what happens in backend also, if you fill up a particular form, instead of console logging it, what we'll do is we'll save this value to database. Instead of saving this value right now to printing it to console, instead of this, what we'll do is we'll send this data to the database, and in database you can get this specific value. Okay, now we are doing it because we are running front end, that's why we are console logging it. But if when we learn backend also, we can put this value in backend and we can send this data in backend. So now you'll be able to understand how forms and everything work. Okay, so if you have to get a value there, you use .input.value and something like that. For every input field, you have to write the same code, this const input. If you have two inputs, you have to input 2, input 3 or something like that, or use specific names. If you have name, email, password, mobile number, something like that, and all of these data can be sent through backend. Instead of console log, we'll have some other code. If you are using JavaScript, they will give you some code, and you can use that same code, and that data will go into the backend. Okay, is this clear how this is basically used? What's the advantage of writing this code? Why are we using this? Okay, so that's why I took a real life example. This is really helpful when you fill up a form or something like that. In those cases, this is always used. Okay, I think now you might have understood this basic concept. Also, if you want to, instead of doing e.value, input.value, you can also do e.target dot value, and you can get the same thing. So if you want to do the same thing, you can get the same thing using e dot target dot value, and I think you will get the same. Oh, it gives an error. E dot no, you have to use task input dot value only. Event, what happens with this is it will take the event and then find out the target. We don't have anything in the form element, so target is whatever element you use. So here we are using form element. If we use target on it, what happens is it will see what's the text present inside this, and it will find the target here. But there are two elements here, so it can't identify a single target, and it will take two values. That's why it shows undefined. It gives an array of values, and that's why it can't take a specific value. That's why input dot e dot target dot value won't work here. So that's an issue. We can use input that value and do the same thing. Also, now if you want to, as soon as you finish, as soon as you submit something here, you can change the value present here also. So we can make a to-do list, and we'll change the h1 element here. Okay, so we'll get the heading. So const heading, and we'll do const document dot query selector, and we'll get the heading. So what's the tag for heading? So we have task heading, so we'll get that specifically. We'll take the same name and we'll use hash task heading. Okay, and now we can change the heading to input dot value. Okay, so we'll do heading dot inner HTML, and we'll change this to input dot value. Okay, and as soon as you click submit, add a task is printed here. Whatever you submit here, that will be printed. Okay, so this is how you can make a to-do list or something like that. If you want to replace elements in HTML as soon as you click a button, if you want to show details of a person as soon as he fills a form, you can do something like that. Okay, you see Google Forms, as soon as you fill a Google form, you can see the details at the end of the form that you've submitted these details. So all these values can be printed using this. Okay, are you guys able to understand the concept behind it, and what's the use of this specifically? Any doubt?
A bit understanding.
Okay, what's the issue? If you can specifically point out that specific issue, I'll repeat that again. Okay, I'll explain this again. So first we have called the form element. We can't use target on this because form is contain two or more elements. That's why we can't use target in this. If you have a single element like input, we can use target dot element, and then we can add a specific. I'll show the example for that also. Then we have called the input class because we have to get the input from this field. We have to get the input from this field, and then we have taken, and also we have taken the heading. What is the heading? Heading is the h1 element. You can take elements like this also, but I've taken heading because it's easier to call here. That's why I've taken heading, and then what I've done is I am using form.add event listener submit, and I have called a function run event, and here I have console log the type of event. So now we can see the function is running properly, so we can remove this. You don't have to write it every time. It's just to show what type of event it's running. Okay, but we use this in future, that's why I have kept it. Then I have to console log the input dot value, so that's checking if the particular input is printed or not in console. Once this is done, also you can remove this also, and then what you can do is you can do heading dot inner HTML. So I have modified the HTML of my list to input dot value. So whatever input did we get here, this is always in a value field. Okay, whatever you write here, it will always be saved as a value, and as soon as you click submit, it will change the value for the heading field automatically here. Okay, so you can have multiple fields, and you can keep the fields as required. Okay, what do you mean by required? Anyone? How to make a field required? If you have to make that field compulsory, how to do that? There's a keyword.
Important tag.
Important tag. No. Like if you have 5 fields and if we click, if we directly click submit button, it should give a pop-up that you have not written anything. See, I am clicking an empty field. It shouldn't take that. Anyone?
Yeah, actually, we are saying about validations.
Yes. Required
Yeah,
keyword. Yes. Okay. So required
yeah.
keyword has to be put up in HTML here. You can't keep a field blank. Always remember this.
Someone has said important, right? It is used in like
CSS. CSS.
CSS. Yeah.
Okay. In CSS, when you have to do something like that, it's required. Here you can see you can't keep this field blank. You have to always fill out this field, and so you won't have the heading change until you if you write something here. Okay. So always do remember this. Don't forget your HTML when you are learning JS. Okay. So do keep that in mind. Required is always required. Always use when you have to keep something as compulsory. If you have to keep some field like name, age, these kind of things compulsory, you can put required there. Okay. Now it's clear, Priya?
Sir,
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
sir.
sir, can we use the input element in the second line, or do we have to call the input class?
Input element in second line.
Yes, sir.
Here you can call the input element also. Instead of dot input, you can use input
Class.
also. No problem with that. No issues. It will work the
Okay.
same. I'll
Okay.
show you. It will work the same, I think. See, it works the same. So it doesn't matter. It's always better to use a class or something like that. So if you have multiple input elements in your project, so that won't hinder it. So that's why it's always better to use a class or something like that, because it won't hinder your performance or uh, your project. If you add multiple input elements, there might be issue. So to avoid such kind of things, always better to use classes or something like that. Okay, to keep that clear, to keep it clear. Here I am explaining a simple example. That's why I have kept it. But wherever it's possible to put me a class or ID something like that, I have used that. Okay, so do keep in mind, always use classes or IDs. Okay,
Yeah, okay.
great, great. Okay, so moving on. Uh, Now I think this aspect is clear. So we'll move on to keyboard elements.
Sir,
So yes, yes.
sir, had we used some other word in place of submit, then also would it have given us the same output or different?
What if you have used if you have
Some
changed
other
this?
word in place of submit.
Yes. So whatever word you write here, that function will be performed. Yesterday we learned around these 5 or 6 functions: click, submit, uh, mouse enter, mouse over. You can do these on mouse over, mouse leave. So these functions are there which are present on mouse. You also have something on keyboard also, but as of now I am just taught the mouse button. So you can check. You can put click also. You can put double click also. So if you want it to run on double click, it will run on double click. I'll show you. So what happens if I do a single click? It won't change. If I do a double click, it will change. Okay, so it won't work here because double clicking the form will run again and again. I have to take some other element. So I'll do mouse dot move. Mouse move. Okay, so as soon as I move my mouse over these form elements, it will change the task. Okay, so if I change something here and move my mouse, as soon as I move my mouse, the data will be changed. Okay, you can see.
Okay.
Okay, you can do any of that element. That's completely on you. That's the advantage of JS. Okay, so as of now we'll keep it as submit.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, what is the difference between mouse move and mouse over?
Okay, so yesterday I took this example. I'll do it again. Mouse over and mouse move. I will take day 16 only code, day 16 code, and I'll show there. Okay, wait a second, day 16, and I'll keep all of these: mouse over, mouse enter, and mouse out. That was the issue, na? Yesterday it wasn't working.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so wait a second. So as soon as I go inside this, mouse enter will work. It should work. Mouse enter should work. Yes, mouse enter, mouse over are working as soon as I enter. And if I go over some element or something like that, it should it should exit that particular button. So if I go over this, wait a second. Yes, sorry. Okay, so as soon as I go inside this element in this card, if I go inside this card, mouse enter should start working. As soon as I go inside, mouse enter and mouse over both will start. If I enter exit, both of them will work normally. Okay, the difference arises when I go over this and I go over some element. Okay, so it shows mouse out at that particular moment. Okay, so what happens is it keeps this element as different from the other element, and if I move my mouse from here and if I keep it outside, it shows mouse out. So it identifies this as another element and it will start a mouse over and mouse out for this specific keyword again. It won't understand this is inside a card. While mouse enter is smart enough, it identifies this complete area as a card, and if you keep it inside any element inside this, it won't give an error. But as soon as if you use mouse over isn't that smart enough. So if you take it over any element like input or something like that, it shows that it's mouse out and it will exit that. So you can see it shows mouse out at that particular moment, and mouse leave only occurs when you leave that particular card. Okay, so as soon as I enter, it shows enter, while mouse in and out will work if you go over some element, if you hover over some element and move your cursor from here or there. Okay, so that's the difference between both of them. So if you put it over any element, it will show an error. It will show mouse out and mouse over because this element isn't considered inside a card. Okay, is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Great. Okay, that was some issue with my browser, so that's why I was having this issue. Okay, we'll take the day 17 code now. Okay, moving on. Now we'll do keyboard elements, keyboard keywords specifically. So let's do that. Okay, we'll comment this out and we'll start from basics. Okay, anyone, what should be the keyboard elements? Anyone, keyboard commands that should be there?
Key press.
Key press. Wow, who answered that? Anyone? Who answered that?
Mhm.
Rudra. Okay, great. That's right. But other than Rudra, anyone try?
Key up.
Key up. Yes, right. Go on. Okay, that's correct.
Then key down.
Key down. Yes, correct. Okay, so that's correct. Key up, key down, all of them are perfectly right. Okay, no errors with these, no issues with that.
Left, right.
Left, right aren't there specifically. There was initially specific keywords for up, down, and other keys, but they removed it in the update, in ES4 update. So it was there in ES3, till ES3, ES2, it was there, but now it's not there. Okay, I'll show you. So we'll take some other keyword now. We'll take input dot add event listener, because most of the keyboard keywords, keyboard functions will work on input fields. That's why I'm taking an input field as of now, and I'll show you functions on that right as of now. Okay, so that's why I'm taking an input. Is that clear why I'm using an input? Because you can type keywords inside a input field only, or a text area or something like that. That's why I'm using an input here. Okay, then we'll see key down first. Key down, key up, key up. So what happens with key down now? Okay, you can see. I'll inspect this, and you see the console. Okay, so as soon as I write something, it renders that event key down, and it shows whenever I put the key cursor down, and it will keep on running that. Okay, now you won't hear the noise of the keyboard, but yes, if I press that keyword, if I press a particular key, it will show that you are pressing a particular key. Similarly, if you put up the cursor up, it will start key up. Okay, we'll see the key up command also.
So, sir, why we use key down, key up, these keywords?
Okay, so very good question, a really good question whenever it comes to programming and something like this. So what happens is whenever you are designing a game, okay, so you have seen racing cars or something like that going on, and many of these are really important, like if you're
Front,
playing.
back, forward.
Yes, yes. So you see parking games or something like that. In those, you if you keep on pressing your cursor, it should work. It should accelerate till you keep the cursor down, and as soon as you put the cursor up, it should stop working. So in those cases, key up function is really helpful, and key down function is really helpful. So whenever key down is pressed, it will accelerate, and whenever the key up is done, it will stop acceleration. So in those cases, you have to specifically bind them to acceleration and deceleration. And in those cases, that's why these two are really helpful. Okay. So if you have played some games like NFS or something like that, in those cases you can see something like this happening. Okay. Never mind if you haven't played it, but you might have understood the concept now. Okay. So I'll show key up now. Okay, so key up, as soon as if I click a button, it won't give an error until unless I put that keyword up. As soon as I put it up, it will run key up here. Okay, so this is how it works. If until unless you don't push up the keyword, put your hand above the keyboard button, it will still not render that particular keyword. As soon as you put it up, it will start key up here. Okay, so that's how this works, and even with backspace also this will work. So if you keep your cursor above backspace, it will still work key up, and you can see key up will work at that particular moment. Okay, so it's simple. Both of them are really helpful, and they are used whenever you are doing gaming kind of events or something, if you are creating games like this. So these are really helpful in those cases. Okay, moving on. So we have something called as key down. We have key press also. So what happens with key press, anyone? Now you can guess.
If we press key press, it will accelerate.
Okay, yes, so that's the same thing.
I'm talking about game.
Yes, that's correct. In key press also use key up is used. Key press works if you only type a keyword or something like that, and it will work normally if you press any key. So it won't give an output here because it's specifically timed for key pressing. So this is specifically used when you don't have to write anything. If I delete it, it will work with delete also, but if you press any key like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, it won't let you write the keyboard. So difference between key up and key down is key press won't let you write inputs, or you won't let you write input anywhere. It will work when you have to click any key. So in case if you press enter, what happens is it moves to another line or another text field. In those cases, key press is used. Okay, so you see in many forms, as you click enter, it moves to another form field, it moves to another form field. In those cases, key press is used. So it won't type out anything, it will just move to another option. Okay, same thing, you can bind it with any keyword. So if you tell someone to press Q and move to another place, or W to move another place, you can do the same thing with that. Any of the keywords, if you press it, it will just run key press and it won't give the output here. Okay, so that's the difference between this. Then we also have other than this, we have focus event. So what happens with focus, anyone? Try. Give it a shot, anyone. Just try guessing if it's what should it do on focus.
Sir, can you please repeat?
Okay.
Maybe if we keep a button pressed for too long.
No. Okay, nice try. It's related to that, but not specifically. For zooming, no. Okay, so what happens whenever you go over a input field, you select that field. So as soon as you select that field, focus function will be activated. Okay, so this is how it works. When you go over it, it will run that specific function. Okay, so you can add validation in these cases. So I'll explain an example. So as soon as what happens is, if you are running something heavy on backend and you want the task to run only when you keep it on focus. Okay, so as soon as I click focus, it will update. It won't update when I write a keyword or something like that. It will update when I focus over it. Okay, so focus basically works when you have
So
to.
in simple words, we can say that element will be active.
Yes, when the element is active, then it works. Okay,
So
so
it is can be using both keyboard and mouse elements. Like it's
yeah,
a
this is a
general.
mouse kind of element, but it's binded with keyboard, because input field you will only use with
When we
keyboard.
will navigate the mouse, then it will work, I think.
Yes, yes. If you navigate with mouse, it works. But if you click enter or something like that, in those cases also this input fields get activated. No, you can see when you have multiple fields, like I have 7 or 8 inputs, and if I click enter, 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 and move down, so in those cases also this focus function will be activated. Okay, so that's why they have created it. It can work with both mouse and keyboard, so that's why it's here. It can be in mouse also, no problem. You can keep it in mouse also, no issues. But it was meant to be used in keyboard initially. It was developed for keyboard. I don't know why they named it, but they named it in keyboard. Ask JS group people why they did something like this. Okay, this is helpful when you have to do validation, so you don't have to worry. As soon as the person puts up his focus on this field, and you can start checking that if he has given a right format as soon as he leaves it, or whenever he is entering the value, you can start validation at that particular moment. And as soon as the focus is lost, so whenever you get that focus is lost or something like that, in that case you can run that the validation is perfect or validation is working or not. So in those cases, you can do is, if you have password is too short or something like that, you can give errors after, as soon as he leaves it. So in those cases, this focus is useful. Okay, then moving on, you also have something called as blur. Now you can guess what it should do.
Remove focus.
We don't have photos. It works on input only, so it should do
Focus.
something with input.
Remove focus.
Yes, okay, right. Remove focus. That's correct. So as soon as I move my focus, blur event runs. Okay, so this is useful when you do validation. Same thing when you have to end the validation. So in start, you can start whenever focus is done, then you can start the validation, and when blur is fired, you can check the validation is perfect or not. Okay, so this is very helpful when you have to do fast processing. Big companies do something like that. They start the focus function, they start validation at the focus function, and they end it at blur function. That's why their GPU won't cost a lot of problems. Okay, and every form field gets evaluated early. So that's one of the methods they do for fast validation. Okay, okay, so this is blur. Then moving on, we also have another kind of function, that's cut. By the name you might know now. So how does cut work? If you cut an input from here, so if I press Ctrl X, it will work. If I cut like this also, it will work. So if I cut from here, it will work, same thing. And if I copy, it won't work, same thing. It works only when you cut a particular element. Okay, so if you press cut, if I write something here and press cut, it will work. Okay, so this cut function is fired like this. Okay, and why it's not working? Because I have used e.prevent default. Okay, if I remove this, it will work normally, the cut function. If I remove this, it will work normally. Okay, it's why it's not working, because I have used e.prevent default, so it avoids all the functions that you do by this. Okay, so e.prevent default avoids these kind of things. Okay, so this is how it works. Cut function, then same thing, you have a paste function. If you have to do something on paste function, So when you do exams, when you write exams, these functions are activated. They will check if you are cutting, pasting, control X, control Y, all of these will be tracked using this. Okay. Ever wondered how they do it? They do it through this. Okay. They prevent cut, copy, paste. All of this is done through this. Okay. So if I do
Tag
this,
changing also.
yes, yes. Okay, so now cut will normally work, but if you try to paste something, it will show paste is activated. Okay, so this is how it works, paste function. Okay, any doubts with cut, paste, copy, anything, key up, key down, key press, focus, blur, cut? I think it's more than clear. I think this is easy to understand. This is not tough. These are really useful. Keyboard elements are really useful when you are doing JS. Mouse won't be that useful, but this keyboard ones are very useful. So to remember them. Okay, I think now it's more than clear. Any doubts with this? So we'll move on to another unit or another chapter. Yeah. Okay. Okay, then let me ask you one question. Anyone, what is local storage? This is the last aspect that we are left with. Okay. Yes, yes.
Storage of our local machine, our PC.
Storage of a local machine. Yes, that's correct. But that's this is local storage also. What is it relevant?
Browser.
Browser storage. Okay. That's right. Anyone else?
So data will be stored even when the browser is closed.
Oh, that's right. Oh, very good. This is a really good answer. So local storages are really useful when you have these sites with cookies and everything. You have seen many sites, they ask for cookies. They want you to accept cookies and something like that. What they do is with cookies and everything, they want to save your data. Okay. So here you can see memories, and you can see there is something called as sources. Yes, here you can see whatever data is saved. Okay, there's something called as file system. Here you can see whatever data is stored. When we use local storage, I'll show you how this works. But as of now, there's something called as local storage. Here you can see all the files that are present, all the pages, whatever data is saved, everything can be seen here once we start using local storage. And to use local storage, what's the code? So you won't require this, so I'll just comment it out as of now, and if you want to refer this, you can refer this later. Okay, I won't delete it, I'll keep it, so I'll comment it on GitHub so you can work out with this. Okay, so I'll take local storage. So if you have to use local storage, it's really easy. You don't have to learn anything. You don't have to memorize anything. You don't have to worry how to use it. You have to just set an item, and you can define whatever you want to do. So here, if whatever you have to save, whatever you have to put up, you can put it up in quotes, and you can add those values. Okay, so what do you guys want to save? Anyone? Okay, we'll save name. So we'll take name.
And one thing, like in this local storage, it will store data in key and value pair.
Yeah, it shows in key and value. So is this key and this is value? Okay, you can take multiple keys, multiple values. Don't worry with that if you have why it's restricted like this. But you can store multiple values, something like that if you want to do it. It's super easy to use. Only have to put values, set item, name, and then Anush. And now if I run the browser, you can see this must be present here. Okay. As blocked cookies, performance, memory. Should work here. It should show in. I'll check that tab next time. think it shows here or something like that. I don't remember exactly where, but it shows data elements present there. If I console.log, I'll show you consoling, and I'll show you how it's present. So I'll console.log. And to get the local storage, you have to do is local storage dot get, and we have to specify the name for that. So whatever element that we have used name here. Okay, so to get name you have to use name keyword. So it's in key value pair. So key value pair means what is key value pair? Anyone can explain what is a key value pair? It's in Python, so you guys might know what is key value.
It's like a dictionary in Python.
Okay, so that's correct.
Anybody say what's the issue here?
Yes.
I think it's get item.
Yes, get item. Yes, so you have to use key value pair. So with key value pair, what you have to do is you have to just take this value key, you have to just call the key, and value will be automatically imported. Okay, so this is how local storage key value pair works. Okay.
Anush, you can check in the browser application tab.
Application tab, no, I don't remember. Yes, sorry.
Yes.
Yes, I
Yeah,
forgot
local
that tab.
storage.
It was not showing that
Yeah,
tab.
it's
Sorry.
hidden.
Yes, that's right. Okay,
You can
in local
find here.
storage you can see name and values present here. I forgot to check that tab. I thought all the tabs were open, that's why. Sorry. Okay, so here you can see here's the key and value, name and value. So if you add multiple values, you can check that. So if I add multiple values here, I'll add age also.
It's a good thing to learn, but when you work on real time, you should not use local storage because anybody can check it, see your data.
So you can see values get printed here. If you use this in real life or something like this, everybody can see your data from here. So many websites initially were saving data like this, and they got hacked or their data was stolen like this. Okay, this is
If
not a
we
good
close
practice.
the browser, it will.
It will be there. It will be still there.
There. Okay, I'll show you what's the difference between this and. Okay, so I've closed that, and I'll open it using the recent tabs. So history, and I'll open it, and it will still be there. Okay, so you can see application tab, it will still be there. Okay, if I comment this out and then save it, still it will be there. Okay, so see, I have commented that out, but still it's saved. Okay, so key value pair, and this is all. Once it starts running, it will always save that data here. Okay, and in console, yes.
This, so for this we use MongoDB and SQL for storing data.
No, this is provided by JS by default. Okay, so you don't have to worry why it's saved or not or something like this. This is provided by this is a default storage provided by JS. Okay, it's present in your browser, local
But the
storage.
database is open now, so everybody can visit there.
Yes, that's the disadvantage. That's why it's not used for storing any of your personal data, not values like name and age. Nobody uses this for it.
We can use this for only practicals.
You can use it for. I'll show you. I'll give you an example. So you can store preferences of some person. Okay. So what happens? So I'll show you. An example.
Yeah, actually, see, there are so many ways to persist data, store data. See, this is one of a way, but it is for understanding how browsers save data, but it's not for real use. You should not use these things in the real-time projects.
Okay. I'll show you an example. So suppose if I make a square box here, and I close this application, and it's not taking any of my data. If I open this application again, that box will be still present there. So this is done through local storage. So he has saved my data in local storage, and he's now rendering this box again. Okay, now did you get my point? It won't take personal details like this, it will take details like this. Okay, anonymous data which is specific to your browser. And if you delete your cookies, if you go to run and %temp and delete in these %temp and you delete this control A and shift delete, then this data will be deleted. So to clear this out, if you haven't done this is really helpful. Okay, this will reduce around 1 to 2 GB if you haven't done it from your starting of the laptop. So this is how you clear cookies. Okay, so these kind of things will be stored. Color preferences like this, if I have a color preference of red color, it will be saved, and if I close it back again, open it, it will still show the same. Any day if I open this, it will still remember this is a red color rectangle that I had created on that day, and it will remember this. Okay, is this clear? Is there any doubts with this, how I have saved it, how I have used it, how is local storage working, how it is working? So if see, if I comment this out also, and if I save this, it will still save that in local storage. Okay, so you can see this is saved in local storage by default in application tab, and this data is always there. Okay. You can remove this data. How to remove this data? Anyone? If I have saved this data, how to remove this data? If I have to remove this data, how can I do it? This is the last question, then we'll wrap up. Okay, you can guess the function name. Try guessing. As you can see here, what is the function name? Set.item, get.item. What should be for removing an item?
Remove.
Remove.
Clear.
Remove item maybe.
Yes, remove
Clear.
item. Remove
Clear.
item.
Clear.
Clear will, what clear will do is clear will clean the
All the storage.
but it won't clean the data here. It will still keep some data. Also you can delete the data manually using the browser, delete selected, and you can delete that data. But if you want to delete it using this, you can do it using the remove item. That's the default format which you use for deleting it. I have to specify what you have to delete. So I have to delete name, and if I run this now, I think my data will be deleted. Yeah, you can see no key value where is present. If I use clear, I'll show you what happens if you use clear. It works the same way, I think, but the difference is it also clears it. Okay, so I think it works the same way. Let me try. If you have multiple data, it works the same way, I think. So yes, clear works the same way. It doesn't have any issues. You can try any of them and you can check that out. Okay, any of this will work, clear or remove data. Both of them work the same way. Any doubts up till now, any issues, you can let me know, or we'll end this session. Have you understood local storage? Keyboard functions?
So
So
localhost will be applicable in the Ignito mode. Will it
Yes.
save the data in Ignito mode?
Yeah, it works with incognito mode. But the disadvantage of local storage is it stores only 13 MB of data, and any data above 13 MB won't be stored in local storage. Okay, so you can store any data anywhere. It will be stored in your local storage in incognito mode also. If you run this website in incognito mode, there's an application tab, it will be saved here. But difference with incognito mode is as soon as you click the browser, it will delete all the application data or whatever key value pair is present. That's why people browse data in they browse their data using this incognito mode. So as soon as they click the end tab, it won't save key value pair there, because you are starting a new session every time. There's something called as session storage also, so I'll focus upon that in tomorrow's class, and then we'll wind up JS, the basics of JS. Okay, that's why it's better to browse in incognito mode. Okay,
Guys, you can check like basics of JS, and you can also inform us like if you are missing something or you want to learn something.
yes, if you have
We
missed
can,
something, you can let
yeah.
us know, we'll explain that again.
These parts are very much important. Like now, next class we will learn session, right? It is cookie session. These are for storing data. And if you remember, like if you log into Facebook, you don't have to give password again and again, right? Every time you log in.
It
Once you
automatically
click on
saves.
Facebook in the browser, it will automatically log into your account. So because of what cookies may be there in your browser, go and clear the cookies, and again it will ask to give your password.
Okay, and if you want to clear your cookies, go to settings and you can check it. Different for different browsers, but it's present in settings tab, and you can clear your cookies. There might be a tab present here, additional settings, something like that, and you can clear your cookies from there. Okay, And all your passwords will be deleted too. All your account logins, everything will go. GitHub, LinkedIn, all of that will go away.
Yeah,
Google, everything.
yeah.
Okay, any
Just
doubts? Any
yeah,
doubts?
just try in your browsers. Okay.
Yeah, but don't blame me after that or Rudra, why did you do this? Okay, do remember those passwords before doing this.